Everybody. El the Alchemist and Black Alchemy Lab up in here with two great special guests that are back. And now there's a synchronized podcast. One with the Wolf, the Great Wolf. And down to the lower, we have the Big Mills hitting the bills. And we're going to be questioning a lot of reality, what is being shown to us. This is an open discussion. Please post any question you'd like for us to answer. But we're going to talk about conspiracy and even the fact that that word was, created so then it would make people even more distracted. So let's go ahead and hop right in there. What's going on? How you guys doing? Right in there.
Well, I'm excited, man.
Yeah. So let's start off with the housing market and the pre and post of when the virus took place and the big pandemic, and kind of where everyone seems to be being steered at this point, because there's a lot of fear about this, fear about that, and distraction away from what we really need to be focused on. And so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Whoever wants to go first.
That's a can of worms, man. Well, I guess I actually wanted to ask the question, when do you think this housing market will pop, if it will pop? Because this is insane. This is the worst housing market, for how highly appraised things are becoming, I've seen in so long. I mean, and all the people I've talked to said, yeah, this is the worst it's ever been. Like, everything's going for $30,000 to $70,000 more than what it was 3 years ago. And it's like, how can you justify buying something like that? Every single house is going, at least in the Fort Wayne area, is going in less than a week, and it's going for more than asking price almost every single time. And so, how are you supposed to buy a house in that? It's just like, how is anybody supposed to buy a house in that? And then with COVID thrown in the mix, lumber went up almost 400%, 4 times what it was, and all these other things that have just skyrocketed. How are you supposed to build a house if you can't buy one? So it's nuts, man. So basically, my wife and I are trying to figure out when to buy a house. Do we just wait another year, rent, or do we just bite the bullet and kind of ride this wave? But I don't know. So
go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so here in West Lafayette, I just happened to be on Yahoo News the other day. Not because I read Yahoo News, but because it comes in my Yahoo. And every once in a while, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll look at it. And it said that here in West Lafayette, we're in like the top 10 for the highest rise in housing prices in the last, I think, 4 years. Housing prices here have went up like 57% in the last 4 years. And so it's just, we're in exactly the same boat as you guys are.
Yep.
I was hoping to buy a house here in the next, I wanted to buy a house this year because I've got a sizable amount of money for a down payment.
Yep.
But the thing is, I'm not going to be able to buy a house in this market because I can't compete with, big companies. That's the thing. I don't know if you follow Really Graceful on Insta. I don't know if you have Instagram, but
actually I do. I do.
She's on YouTube, and she went into the fact that there are these big corporations that are buying up all these houses and these neighborhoods at these rates right now, and they're buying them up, and their plans are to rent them all out to everybody, so that just like I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was the UN, but they said that we're all going to be renters by 30. Nobody was going to own anything. And so you have these big corporations that are coming in and buying everything right now. They've priced us all out of the market. And I think it's part of that agenda. This is all part of the agenda to, make the inflation rate go up and get us all on the dole. Get us all on the dole.
I read something where the inflation rate has been the worst it's been since in like 35 years or something. This is how bad the inflation rate has been.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I read an article that said that like within this last week talked about inflation was like a 6.9%. I'm just like, are you kidding me? That's insane.
And it's only going to go higher. It's only going to go higher. It has
it really?
to.
Yeah, and
It
that's
has to. They start giving out more money, more
So
stimulus checks.
do we have another recession and then depression on our hands?
Well, see, my thoughts is that with the way that Trump was like posturing against China, calling COVID the China virus, and
Yeah.
I mean, which obviously we know that's a misnomer because we know that the United States, what was it, the NIH and I think the NAID, which
funding.
Fauci heads were funding that lab in Wuhan. Which I mean, last year I read about all this shit last year. And I knew it didn't come from some damn bat. And they're kind of slowly.
I was a conspiracy theorist from day one because I knew that this was my thought. This was my original theory, was that the Chinese have too much old people because of the one-child law, right? And so now that's why they've introduced two-child law to try to help out with the workforce. It's pretty universally known, right? And so honestly, let's just be real, Chinese Communist Party, that government are just evil, vile people. And what I thought was they came up with this virus to kill off the old people to save their country, to save the younger people. And that was always my theory. So it wasn't totally wrong because it did become created in a lab in China, but I didn't realize that Fauci was funding it, and I was like, holy shit. Because I
the
always thought
Daily
Bill Gates
Mail
is funding it. But
well, he's part of it, I think, too, though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that's also the thing too. It's like once you start connecting the lines where this stuff was being pre-funded back when Barack Obama was in office, and then for all this to occur, it is like, all right, we do this step, then this step, then this step, so we can get all the people on that basic income, not having a job. So then they're just getting this money, and they're kind of already, then they become in this habitual thing where it's like it's a normalized not having a job. And then you are going to have to not be able to own your own house, which that's how from the Renaissance to now, or your whole life, like it's about that family inheritance, that property, that gold, that you got asset. Now they're trying to take it so you have no asset. So you're just renting your whole entire life. And like in all reality, saving up for a down payment on a house is a lot of money. It's definitely a lot of money. It's not just something you can sit there and just throw it down. Plus, in today's age, in the inflation, like right now, I can only imagine the people that don't even like. It would be hard to want to go get people to want to go work a job, but then it's like because it's like why work your butt off for over a terrible job like that. So then there's that mindset, but then it also comes down to like McDonald's. Like there is robotics that is going to be made, automation, and that is another thing. It's like making the human less needed. Once the self-driving cars come into play, now there's a good and bad with everything, but it's like there's all these people, everything's turning into automation. It's devaluing the human itself, and that is like what this whole agenda and all this stuff is going on. And I don't think it's completely over. There's these conversations going on. There's other people knowing, but there's definitely, just like some people can get you shadow banned or you can get knocking off the air if you're talking about certain things that they're trying to cover up. And that's ridiculous. And I honestly, like I said before I went live, like I'm just here to speak the truths that I've heard and what you all have heard and kind of just establish that on a live situation. So I'd rather be banned for saying something than not banned and said blah 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 blah, drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, it's just like Bob Lazar. You know Bob Lazar, right?
Bob Lazar, yeah.
Dude, all the things that were coming out that Bob was right, and everybody called Bob crazy. They shunned him. They said, they silenced him. They censored him, shadow banned him, and whoop-de-doo, he was fucking right. Honestly, all the stuff that's been coming out with all the alien stuff, which honestly is a little sketchy that they're releasing all this stuff now, but that's a whole nother topic. But with the proof of aliens and proof of everything that Bob Lazar was saying, it just goes to show that it's such proof that they censor the truth all the time.
Yeah, which then would leave the viewer who's watching this video the question: how do you know what is true? How do you know what to follow? And that's an open interpretation right there. I can say for myself, like I have a feeling but that might mean nothing. You know what I mean? Some people can make, I have a feeling that's wrong and that you're full of, full of crap in your mind. But, then it comes down to look at the stuff that we're eating, look at the stuff that we're drinking. And the thing like on Joe Rogan, the teaching about how the plastics, whether it's in a water bottle,
Microplastics.
exactly, on beef.
Yep.
Will
you tell me more about microplastics, man? Because I really don't know anything about them.
From the research that I watched the video and I looked into it myself. The reproduction of the male and the female body, its effectiveness has went down about 40% in the last 50 years, and that's due to all the plastics because they put it in with lab rats, and then when they took it in, they saw that from their balls to their butthole, the size of that area, when it's smaller, it's less. The sexual reproduction can't be, obtained as well. Like it's harder for the seed to work. But the bigger it is, the greater it is. So if that's going on, and they're also, with our water cleaning systems for our cities, have stuff that they add to the water, and you're taking that in too. And then all those chips, whether it's the high calorie ones or then the low calorie ones with the additives of all the shit you don't know what it's doing. It is nonstop chemical city. And then you make people upset and stuck in the same mentality with that fear mongering, and then people not, living in that healthy environment of their own home or even being, true to themselves. And that's just nothing but a cancer spawning situation at that point. I know that was a little bit of a wild rant, but it's just the microplastics is just a part of this agenda thing too, how else do you want to get rid of all these people? You can make them hate each other and battle one another and all that, but you can also just do it by adding stuff in their water and adding all these things. Let me make sure he's doing good and back in here. Are you back in here? He might be. There's no sound.
Well, he's gone.
But yeah. I just see all these different types of situations. This sound's not working, everyone. You know what? Yeah. It's all good because that happens, everyone. When you're live, you have to laugh about it.
That's when the magic happens, and when the gremlins too, man.
The gremlins 100% right here.
Gremlins.
Once they see the truth, oh man, okay. Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, so about probably 10 or 11 years ago, maybe more, CBC out of Canada, they have their state-owned broadcasting channel. They did a doc that's called The Disappearing Male, and they go into all that stuff that you're talking about, and about bisphenol A, BPA, and about phthalates, which are all plastics that cause reproductive harm and so forth.
We're back now.
But yeah, it's the doc. I was just telling him about a documentary by CBC called "The Disappearing Male." They talk about all stuff that Leighton was talking about, and that came out over a decade ago. All that stuff was disclosed. So I mean, here we are years later, and we're seeing the effects of it. And they talk lower sperm count in the Western male. It was up to 75% less motility arm. Meaning it goes in there, but then it doesn't do what it do. It just dies. It's weak. And I think I can't remember where I read it, but I read that the population is supposed to diminish. And in some countries, that's the reason why they justified immigration from all these third world countries, was because they were saying that they needed more taxpayers, to sustain the systems, like places, European places, German places like that. So it's really happening.
And that's the thing too. It's the fact that in Georgia, those guidestones are right there, stating all the things about what the their decisions. Things are out in plain sight all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like
Well,
why
and
it's even crazier.
The name on the bottom of it, who the author was R.C. Christian, which is Rosicrucians. It's a society. So that you've got secret societies that are involved in all this. You've got Freemasonry. You've got people like the Rosicrucians. You've got other groups as well that are hidden. Those are kind of like the more outer groups, but there's inner groups too. And those groups, there's because the average Mason under the lodge gets drunk with his lodge brothers. He's not involved in any of that. Sure, they're involved in some business deals and some shady stuff. Obviously giving favor to their brother, give Masonic sign of distress, and that sort of that thing to get favors. But what we're talking about, obviously, the lodge within the lodge, and higher than that.
Yeah. Exactly. There's been a black hand that's been behind. It's not just this nation and this nation. It's all the nations and making things of a greater battle. So it's the illusion. We're being killed and sacrificed under their God, for their God, for their purposes. And now the definition of what that evil is different with everyone. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I can agree with that definition.
Alex Jones has entered the chat. The globalists.
The globalists, and that's the thing. There are these rights and other things that go on. These other realms that are all around us, and that's a reality that, like, bigger than anything of my podcast. That's what I want the viewer to leave there knowing is not only that there are the things going on beyond the shadows and giving you the sphere, but also that there is this inner power that you have that you might not be able to see with your own eyes here, but on other planes it shines forth, and you can do so much with it. And that if there's things like that are good, there's obviously things like that are bad, and then there's things that can, like a vampire, for instance, there's things that can feed off of you, and it could be a negativity. So think of why all the television and all that is so negative. Tell lies to vision, television. Like, breaking down what words are in the English language are really spells. Like, words are spells. Like, and that might sound wild to some people, but like, you speak into existence your reality.
Right? You spell words. It's spelling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, English language created, 100 odd years ago, and it was supposed to be like a magical language. It took elements of all kinds of other languages. And so it's this thing that has been national across the world, and that's not by accident. There's intent behind that, to having this particular language.
Yeah,
it's an interesting study for sure. Language,
without it,
and etymology,
and like how I feel like we all can communicate. Like, when you're with your wife, and then you guys have that language where you can like just look at them and you know what they're saying and like what they want, and if she's happy or if she's mad. It's like that language you can have with every single individual, and I think we already do have it like that, honestly. It's just being aware of it. But there's always so much going around us at all times.
The masks, too. You can't pick up on that subtle language anymore if everybody's wearing a mask. Which the intent of it, it's the dehumanization process.
Yeah, it made it felt
things, and there's... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it's like you're being muzzled. You're not able to even talk about it. It's a pure metaphor.
Yeah, it is. It's a metaphor in walking life. You know what I mean? It's like literally a physical metaphor at the same. But yeah, you can't, when everybody has masks on, you can't see the more subtle expressions. And you're basically like you're identityless. You're at that point, you're a member of the herd, the drone.
Yeah, you're just following where you've been led. And that worship, I think that people are always like too busy putting all their energy into this perspective or this being or this or that and the other, and they're not putting it in themselves. I don't feel like anyone's ever really looked in the mirror and been like, I'm going to be empowered from it, my end self, not by hearing this thing or hoping I get the encouragement by this person. It's like, it comes from within. I think God comes from within, and the illusion until all this that's going on around us is that we have no power when it's right there shining inside. And that's why there's no other.
They need our cooperation every step of the way. You notice that thing is aimed at our perception and our perspective and our consciousness to what we believe is true. You know, everything they have to in the mind, they have to hit you spiritually before physically. You know what I mean? They can come out and overtly oppress you physically, sure. But then there's going to be a backlash. There's going to be people fighting back. But see, what they have to get you to is they have to get you to agree, you know, to your own circle. And so that tells you the amount of power that each individual has. Because if they go through that much trouble to try to change your mind, to get you to believe, to want you to believe, so that you act the way that they want you to act and perceive things the way they want you to perceive, it tells your mind and your own perception matters, and it matters to them. So you can always look at that as a positive.
Yeah, and it's like his story, history. You know, it's not our story; it's his story. How do we know though? Like that went out in that textbook is what the truth is. Like, is it because there's an overarching? All these people say this happened, or is it a mass? Of fakeness. And I'm not saying the flat earth exists because I don't know even where that discussion is, or that's because sometimes there's conspiracies that are like distractional conspiracies, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying it's like how are all these things coming about? Like I don't know, and that's why I think that search for truth is never ending. And once you get past this one hurdle, it brings you to the next, and it keeps doing it over and over and over again. And you can feel hopeless with the housing market and all the money and stuff, but you can also be thankful for what you have right at the moment, because some people are definitely have it way worse. And what are your guys' thoughts? If the aliens were shown to us with the government, and they said this is an alien we've been working with for a long time, would you believe that alien, or would you feel like that would be the one that was BS following?
No, I wouldn't believe anything the government said ever.
Yeah,
I agree, Annette, Denise. I was just gonna say the winners write history, and that's why there's people that think that the Nazis got infiltrated the American government, and the winners write history. That's all I know. Winners write history.
That's so true, though. I mean, Project Paperclip, where they took Yeah, no problem. It took when they took in all of them to work on their projects, and then be written in our books. Which, one could argue, well, it's a good thing we did it, not the communists do it. But then again, it just comes down to that intent. And some things I've heard is the Greys get the abduct so many people, but we keep getting the technology.
Communism always shows its true colors. Every single time it's ever been implemented into a society, it has burned that society to the ground. Look at North Korea right now. If you guys haven't heard or seen Jordan B. Peterson's podcast with this lady who's from North Korea, she escaped when she was like 13 or 14 or something. It's insane. It's insane the world that they live in, because every North Korean is a slave. If you're not in the elite over there, you're a slave, and you're just looking every day for your next meal. And it's so insane how they live, and that they hide it from the entire world. You know what I mean? And it's all because of communism and totalitarianism.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a little bit of it, and probably had an hour of it, and you know, it's mind blowing that there's another culture out there that is, you know, all these things are going on, and they don't have phones, and they don't have all this knowledge that's just so easily, you know, acceptable that we have easily, you know. And like even people in the prison camps don't even
They don't
know
have electricity.
who their leader is. They're just sitting there in prison. They don't have a concept of anything. And to have to eat bugs, to have to follow everything the government does, take care of even a newspaper, you couldn't burn it, to file it, and then you see Americans doing what they do here in the streets. It's pretty, honestly, it's pretty baffling. Like, we really are blessed for what we have. Now, there still
don't have
is,
electricity.
obviously, our issues, and they have theirs. What's that?
They don't have electricity, number one. So if you fly over at night, the entire country looks like it's just a blackout. Number two, they don't have the concept of I. They like in their country, they just say we. We love, you know, this, or we do this, or we gotta do that. They don't have the concept of I. It's just one community. And so they don't have any individualism. It's all just you're just a number. And it's just insane how they're backwards and how their lives have zero freedom. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I'm thankful that we are. Do you guys hear me repeating myself right in the background?
I a loop, but
there might be a. I can hear myself. Hang on. So let me test this. Okay.
Live video.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I know. Hey, everyone, come on down. Actually, I don't hear myself anymore, so that must have worked. Okay, cool. No, we're good, y'all. We're good. But yeah, that's the thing. There's so much illusion that can be put inside our mind and what is going on. And so, like, even for Elon Musk, this whole the nano, I forget what it's called. Thank you for a thumbs up. The do you know what that thing is called? I know. Look at this. It's funny. It's a funny situation. Come on down, everyone. Come on down and keep it on. Well, it's okay. We're blasting some truth out, so it's causing some ripples in the time wave force. But, you know, connecting yourself cybernetically, like, what is the extent in which you would be all right with that? Like, I'm
not at all.
I'm kind of, so you want to, if your arm got chopped off, you wouldn't let it connect to your brain to make it so it all works?
Well, no. I mean, the thing is that if you look at transhumanism and who's behind it, the things that they do to us are not for our benefit. They'll like, oh, wouldn't you want it to be reattached? You know, with or not reattached? Wouldn't you want to have an appendage replaced? You know, with a cybernetic one. But yeah, it would say, yeah, sure, maybe. You know, the thing is that that's put out there as a carrot to make us go for it. Cybernetics and the people that were behind it, and transhumanism was not for our benefit. Transhumanism was a term that was coined in Huxley, who was the brother of Aldous Huxley. Julian Huxley was the CEO for the nation in his time, and he grandson, Sir, what is his name? Thomas Huxley, who was called Bulldog, pushing Darwinism in his time, and so it comes down to Darwinism and survival of the fittest, and this belief is all part of it. Superior types, inferior types, and the ultimate goal of all this would be to create like a Borg scenario where we all have a brain chip that's going to go. The technology is going smaller, and they're going to integrate it with the body to turn us saves, because the problem have now is that we still have free will, that we still can put up what they're doing. If you get the brain chip, boom, you're gone. You're gone. You might think that you're in some movie somewhere. Your consciousness is somewhere else while your body is doing someone else, and that's the ultimate of this. It's not. It's for our benefit.
Yeah,
I say no.
Hang on 1 second. Let me test this. And I mean, I can definitely see that in the sense of, because I don't know, that would be crazy for it to be like the Matrix, like we're actually plugged into something, and this actually isn't the reality that's going on. And what happens? This is a simulation, and when they say you die, you wake up in a new body. It's because you were in this simulation, and so. That's kind of where I get a little hesitant with it. But I'm like, if it's just my hand, it's not too bad. But then it's like, how far will you go? How far will you go? And I don't know. I'm split hairs with that, because I agree with exactly what you're saying and how it's all about how we have free will right now. That's incredible. But if 10 years from now, it's like, hey, you could get surgery on your foot and hope it can get fixed, or we could just, give you like a robot foot.
Of course, are they going to let you keep that, or are you going to have to rent it? Right? Are you being clear owner? Or are you going to have to pay a monthly price? Have you seen Repo Man, where they give people parts and organs and shit? And then when you can't pay, so the movie you can't pay for that anymore. Then they come and they fucking repo it out of your body, and your ass dies right there.
Well,
so
I heard that they're doing human-animal hybrids so that they can come up with a solution for people who lose their appendages. So that's why they're trying to test, trying to mix human
chimeras.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's, they've been doing that since at minimum 2014. That's when I started hearing that they were doing that. And, like kind of like the movie Spider-Man, like, dude, you could have a lizard man now, bro. Like,
that's what people are saying with the lizard people too, man. That's where it's like, are the lizard people real?
Well, shoot, and then also like CERN opening up portals and such things like that. It's like we could sometimes in the near future have like a wild, otherly world actual battle. Like kind of what I feel like they're trying to make it happen.
Well, another question is how much of that is true, and how much of that stuff is put out there.
Yeah.
To thinking about it. I mean, who knows? We don't know what's going on outside of our own little space. Because the thing is that trust the media to tell you the truth. And the alternative, you can't really trust them to tell you the truth, because they all want to sell you, and they all have an agenda. So at this point, it's just like how far. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure they have technology, but it's just like, is that's put out there to scare us? Is that a story do they have something even worse than that? I've heard that from some people that they're 50 to 100 years ahead of where they even tell us that they are. So,
yeah,
God knows what kind of stuff they may actually have, if they do.
I agree, and whenever we're going to be told is going to be probably like 1%. Like there's no way they're going to give us it all. They'll probably give us just some breadcrumbs to say, oh, this is what it is. But you're right. They're definitely at least 50 years ahead of us. And it's why there's technology. It's like, well, it's too bad that they didn't sell us that version instead of this small one for this, but all the money they can make. And then they have all those people literally working like a slave job. And that's for the same cycle. It's the same cycle. It's an endless cycle.
Yeah.
Plus, they're able to keep on you. What's that?
Go ahead. I said masters. That's what it comes down to. slaves and masters, people that want to be willing slaves and want to go along with it, and people that want to be masters over those people. That's what it really comes down to.
The
Yeah.
fight for freedom.
And so like after this COVID things happen, I know my next step is to be somewhere even a little bit more off grid. Now I still want to have internet, obviously, but more room to have my own vegetable gardens, or like maybe a couple chickens, so it's more self-sustaining, just to really feel more safe in the world that we live in anymore. And if anything ever happens, you can feel more safe. But so, is your guys' perspective changed on where you want to live in the next couple of years, or even your life decisions in general? Like, how much has that been affected by pre and post of this whole entire virus?
So Taylor and I are hopefully a bar or restaurant, something like that. But we will never buy something downtown now, simply because of all the riots and everything that have happened almost yearly now. And so it's way too dangerous to own a business downtown with the insurance they have about all the people potentially looting and rioting, and there's just no way. So I don't want to. I've enjoyed visiting downtown, but I will never own anything or be anywhere close to downtown.
Yeah. I can understand that. I'm not a city person myself, anyway, so I'm more about going to be off grid, be able to look up at the sky and like see the stars. Like, honestly, plus
it's great for you.
Well, definitely. It just feels safer, But you don't want to be off grid, because you also want to still be, kind of tapped and involved and have internet for the connection. But that's just the thing. There's just how far are you trying to go? People say they want to be off grid. How far do they want to go? I would love to be self-sustaining with solar power as well. Like that with some chickens in my own little garden. I personally would feel super fulfilled with that. And then obviously keep going after my goals and everything else, so I don't have to work a 9 to 5 the rest of my life. But if I have to, then at least enjoy the thing that you're doing, so you can build that ultimate dream. Because even with all this fear and all this stuff going on with people with it doesn't matter. It could be a religion. It can be a political thing. It can be did you get the vaccine or not? There's always a situation, Instead of just being like, you know what, let's make a long-term plan. Feel really like, keep your mind towards that objective and keep going forward. Being like, I'm not going to get that anything that the government tells me to do. It's my body. I'm gonna take care of it the way it needs to, and like my body, my choice.
Yeah.
I don't know anything when it comes to abortion. I really don't have much to.
I was just saying that just because that's. I was just saying that just because that's.
I know what you're saying. But in all reality, why would someone want to get something injected by a guy who is all about depopulation under 1 million? So I'm just a little curious. Why would you do that?
Because they're stupid. They're stupid.
Fear is all. People are way too scared.
Yeah, it is.
They're scared because they say it's bad. Yada yada. Chinese scientists have come out and said that they didn't want to tell people that it probably came from China because they found out underneath Trump's presidency, but they didn't want to come out and say it because they didn't want to say that they were a fan of Trump. So just ridiculous, but it's just fear. It's fear is what making everybody take this, and they're doing it because they think it's the right thing. They think it's the humane thing, but it's not. People haven't done their research. They have no idea what they're putting in their bodies.
Mm-hmm. It's like a lack of awareness. And why don't we?
It's sad.
Well, it's like, why don't we just put on the internet and all over as I don't. It's really echoing again. Let me test this. Hello. Okay, I know what it is. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Gotta fix my camera.
No, that's all good. You might be echoing a little.
I am.
Yes.
Huh.
I can only hear myself talk again. It's classic. It's live, everyone. Everyone, brought to you by. Here's a quick commercial break. Oh, are you thirsty?
Hey. Brought to you by the NSA. You can't
Yeah.
talk about
Hey,
that
this is
shit.
it. It's approved. It's approved. It's approved. Yeah. You know what?
We start telling
Drink
everybody to
stuff
get
with
the
fluoride in it.
shot. Yeah.
That's what.
Start
Yeah.
telling everybody
Exactly.
The shot's good and trust the science and no trouble whatsoever.
No, ain't that the trip? But you know what? Anymore, it's like you might as well make a splash and say you better state your truth is a fact, because I'd rather say I tried than be like I didn't try. Like they thought I was crazy. You know, I'd rather say that instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna care what people say. It's about really just passing on feel like helps you out and you also feel like it's part of the truth. And you can go upside down or right side up. And it's gonna be fine. It's honestly gonna be fine. Like no matter what the situation is. But it is also about finding what is true or what is just reviews online too. You know, like people are making up things constantly, and so that's why I say it comes with a part of that feeling inside what is right, what God shows you. That this makes sense. It's like when you have those synchronicity slash moments where you're like, wow, that had so much symbolism and metaphor into my life, and it's God just showing that to me with a different lens. And that's like also something too, but not everyone's had that experience. And it's like I could say blah 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 blah, and they, you know what I mean? Like someone else might understand.
Well, you only know God by experience anyway, right? I mean, that's really the only way that you ever can know the Creator. You know, I mean, the Bible is pretty explicit about that. And it's also pretty explicit about the fact that the kingdom of heaven is within you. And so on you right there, God is really within. It's not something that you go and look outside of you for. See, when you worship another human being, I'm just going to get off tangent, just kind of have to. When you worship another human being, you're like, okay, well, this person, Anthony Fauci, is a scientist. And he knows better than I know. See, what you're doing is worshiping an idol, worshiping something that somebody's supposed to worship. You're not supposed to worship somebody else. You, a human being or an object. You're supposed to go within, find God, to find the Creator. So when you're looking outside of you, and you're letting something else have power over you, you are being a false god.
I'm almost done with this. I'll be in like 2 minutes, okay? I'll be in like 2 minutes.
All right.
So we go back inside?
Yeah.
I'll be in
he's
like
talking
Yeah. No, he's talking to you. He's going over to your house. He's going to be there in 2 minutes. Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Some beer, man. I'll drink some beers. I'll talk shit.
Oh my goodness! I didn't realize. I realized my mute was on the whole time. Oopsies. Well, cool. Well, hey, sorry about that, guys, but I have to get going. Thank you for the great conversation. I had fun. Sorry, I popped in and out with my Bluetooth, whatever. But
it's live, bro. We're literally live. It doesn't matter. It's great, dude. I appreciate you being on, and happy Father's Day, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. You too, if it applies to you. So, all right.
I got 4.
Oh, there you go. Congrats. So, all right. Hey, well, I will talk to you fellas later. Thank you very much.
Yeah, take it easy, man. Take it easy. Keep questioning.
You too.
Oh man. But yeah, I completely agree. That temple of God is inside of you, and that's the new mind frame that I've had in the past, probably past 2.5 years, like I've really understood that to a different level. And there's also like a point where it's like you have to know that, but then you also don't want to be cocky. Let's just put it that way. Like everyone's divine has a spark, but it doesn't mean like, I don't have to put in the work, or oh, it's just all gonna work out. No, you still have to put in that work and that constant go after. And that's something that's really hit me these past few months. Is I hit monuments that I'm really proud of, and then I realized how much more is needed to be able to obtain what I really am going after. And it's taken a long time to solidify and feel comfortable. Like even getting on a podcast, I could care less if I had a million haters. Like I'm so appreciative to be able to have the conscious conversation that other people who I know kind of have that's not the exact same opinion necessarily, but they have the eyes and the lens, the look at the other opinion, and then make that decision themselves. And it's just always felt so right when I've looked into like things behind like the rituals and all the things they do behind the mask, like the sex trafficking and why they do those type of things. And there's like a different occult things I've read that so I'm gonna say that's evil, but occult means hidden. So it's just finding out these things and then knowing and like being like, wow, that really is what's going on, and then learning these different things and being like, wow, there actually is this dark current of going on around me, and we have to do something to stop it instead of just continuing allowing it. And I feel like more people have woken up to that, and this year has given us a new vision, and there's still people who have a mask on outside, like, when they're walking around, and I that's their reality. That's not my reality, but that's a scary reality. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how you could do that. Like, if you're supposed to go, you're gonna go. There's no like, why are you gonna be that afraid? Like, holy smokes. And I don't know. It gets people very triggered, and I understand because both sides are intense. Because I don't know if you've like. There's people that I don't know if you knew anyone that got it. Like I knew a couple people that got it, and it wasn't that bad. And then other people have said they know a family member that got it, and then they're like in the hospital, and then or they pass away, and they know people. But I think to myself, is that because of health, like already health factors? And I think that's exactly what it is. And it's more of a reality.
Yeah.
Most people aren't healthy at all, so something this small or grand, whatever the hell. It's like almost like, damn, can your body even put up with that? Or once again, flip the switch and get rid of more people, continuing going down this path. So it's just, I don't know. I get both sides of it though. I really do, but I just stand more on the side of the fear thing and the metaphor for keep yourself quiet, keep yourself, shackled up. And anymore, you'd rather fight as a warrior. There's which warrior was it? It was the one that went into Troy, and I forget his name, but he basically talked to this oracle, and they basically were just like, it's either you can have a family and stay back here and you'll be forgotten, or go into the battle and always be remembered. And it doesn't even say you're going to win or lose, but you won't be forgotten. And he chose that path. And I'm just like, man, at this point, we have to all come together. And there's so many people that have so much amazing content out there. And like that Really Graceful. She always posts really great things, and there's factual things behind it. I like David Wilcock. I read his book years ago when I was like 23. And it took me down a really great path, too. Like, just like learning more about myself and my goals and all that type of stuff. But, there's different influences from books and all this, the writing and, like arts over in the eastern part of the world that are just so deep. Like people do, like my dad always into the energy arts and like Qigong and Tai Chi and seeing those things, and how honestly his mind was blown because I used to walk when I was a kid. I would just walk in circles and he put on Mozart. And he was like, I'm reading books about doing that to build energy, and he's just doing that as a kid. And it's like, I don't know. There's so much mystery and so much, hidden stuff, but there's so much more obsession about the like. And I know that that was a rant that just went in a wild place. But yeah, man, like it's just wild.
Yeah, unfortunately some of that was cutting out, and I don't know if my connection's bad, but I did get some of that. Am I okay? Can you?
Yeah, you're great now. When Brad was in here, it was skipping sometimes, but now it's hitting. Now like
That's weird.
It's live. It's probably because it was like
right?
3 different connections all trying to connect there up at the source. At the source of the connection.
Yeah, I mean, well, what I got out of that, and like I said, some of what you said, kind of, I couldn't.
That's fine. Tell me. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I mean, I do understand that people are afraid because they've watched a lot of TV or they know somebody who got sick, got what they're calling COVID and died from it. I mean, but you look at the statistics and the way that they've derived the statistics, and there's so much fuckery there that, it's hard to say what's really going on. It's hard to say how many people actually died of COVID. It's hard to say if COVID is actually a real thing, because if you look at the PCR test, it amplifies, like the only way that, to my understanding, the only way that they've ever been able to discover COVID was within somebody else's DNA, within a person's DNA sample. Like they've never been able to actually isolate it and look at it and be like, okay, this is COVID. This particular sequence of code is COVID. But they can take a small snippet of somebody's DNA and they do the PCR test. And what it does is it amplifies that really tiny snippet and makes it big. You know what I mean? Like makes it larger. And it has a certain amount of amplification. And I can't remember the number of amplifications, but there's so much room for error in that because you're amplifying something so small. It would be like, taking a really quiet sound. Say you get like a really quiet, faint sound of like a pin drop. Yeah. And taking an amplifier and amplifying that sound, turning it up all the way. And you're going to have a lot of distortion in that. A lot of what you hear is not going to be the pin drop. A lot of what you hear is going to be the amplification itself. You know what I mean? There's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing that they did was after the COVID shot was introduced in January, they changed the amount of times that they amplify the PCR tests to less amplifications. Like for argument's sake, I don't remember the number, you'd have to look it up. But say if it was 30 amplifications, or if it was 40 amplifications, they brought it down to 30. So there was less margin of error, like meaning that there was going to be less false positives. So there would be less people that would have COVID. Okay. Right? Just by changing the amount of amplifications, you change the amount of people that have COVID in the statistics. And they also changed the criteria of how they diagnose COVID. They changed the criteria to where you had to exhibit the symptoms for a longer period of time, and you had to have 2 positive tests rather than 1. Okay. So guess what? The COVID numbers went down because they changed the criteria. So before it was a free-for-all. Everything was COVID. Every test was a valid test. But they changed it after the vaccine came out to make it more strict so that when you look at the statistics, you say, oh, well, the rates of COVID went down. But in truth, it's statistical fuckery.
Wow. So they really made the illusion that it was going down afterwards. Damn. Yep. See, that's something I didn't even know. I figured I didn't like the agenda that they were saying, so I was like, probably. And now I'm seeing that people have like altercations. And then they'll be like, those are lies, those are hoaxes. And it's like, dude, what is the truth? But I feel like it would cause a lot more altercations. Honestly. It would cause way more. And I don't know. I'm just like, my body's working as great as it is. without taking the thing. I exercise. I eat relatively healthy. I'm trying to do better. And
Mhm.
I stretch. I should probably stretch more. We all should probably stretch more, and we should all take more water intake. But that's the thing. There's those things that like there's people that are younger than me, where they're like, man, I'm so sore. Man, I feel so crazy. Man, that this, that, and the other. And it's like, look what you're drinking. Look what you're putting in your body. Look at the lifestyle. Like shit. Like I really did a party lifestyle, and like I was on blood pressure medicine by 21. I wasn't taking care of myself at all, and I had to. And then I had to start working out, and then now it's a part of my lifestyle, and I love it. It's part of the mind body connection and spirit, Super Saiyan. And so it is about finding that way in life, like what works for you. How is it good for you? Like the gym's good for me, but like you could be going on nature walks and like shooting arrows or like climbing up huge rocks or whatever. Like everyone has their own way, but they all need a way, and it's about finding that passage.
Yeah. Well, I think that the way that consciousness and reality works is that, we're all so different and we all have different beliefs. And I feel like whatever you believe kind of comes about, you experience it in your life, And so if you believe that, taking walks in nature is what works for you, and getting the sunshine and all that is what's going to make you feel healthy and feel good, then it doesn't matter. You don't have to get on some newfangled exercise program that somebody else maybe has to get on. You know what I mean? Some people they never feel like they do enough. So they do everything, and it doesn't seem to give them the same benefit that somebody that does less does. Or it's the same thing with some people it takes more alcohol to get people drunk than other people. It's like, well, it's biological, but is it biological because it's just strictly biological, or is there a mind body connection there, is it a mindset or allergies? Is that a physical thing, or is it a belief? Is it because you believe that you're allergic to it? There's so many layers. There's so many layers to it that, it's kind of hard to really get into, because there are stories and anecdotes where people, are hypnotized to not be allergic to something, or hypnotized to quit smoking, and they are hypnotized to do all kinds of things. So there's definitely a consciousness perspective too. I feel like if you're doing something that you enjoy, then no matter what it is, then that's better than doing something that you don't enjoy. Like exercise that you hate doing is not going to be as good for you as exercise that you like doing.
Yeah.
Even if the exercise that you even if the exercise that you hate doing in the eyes of the world might be better than the exercise that you like doing.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
So important to be happy and like what you're doing.
And that's why, when I'm obviously wanting to do something better than what I'm doing right now, like to make money and all that. But if I don't enjoy the process of it, and at least a part of the process to my ultimate fulfillment, if you don't enjoy it, like if you don't enjoy the job that you do work at, if you have a 9 to 5, then you need to at least change that up, and then do the balance, and then be able to push things forward in a different way. Plus, we live in a day and age, with inflation and all these other things going on, you have to, sometimes, there is go all in, but sometimes you can go all in and then you didn't get it because you didn't build a safety net, and you need to have extra. You can't just be nothing. There's always an equivalent exchange.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, you can't push too hard. You know what I mean? You're not going to will all these synchronicities and things to come about in your life. It's not like, well, I'm just gonna will it into being, and it's not like that. You know, there's an interchange. It's like a dance. It's a cosmic dance that you have to do, and you have to be able to kind of take the cues of when it's time to act and when it's time to not act. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
have dreams and things that you want to achieve in your life, but everything has its own appointed hour. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow and everything is going to be different in your world. Your mindset might be different, and that's great, and that's the start of the process of unfolding whatever your goal is, but it's not like it's just going to happen overnight. And I think that we get so impatient, we want things now, that we lose sight of that. And that's a lot of times when failure happens, or quote unquote failure, because you know you haven't really failed until you stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny because I heard this parable, and there's a guy who wants to become, I forget what he's trying to do, but he goes to this monk and he's like, I want to become a enlightened being who can focus his mind and do all these things. And the monk's like, it will take 10 years. And then the guy says, what happens if I'm here every single day, extra hours, and I'm pushing forward? And I just, instead of, the 8 hours, I do 16. And then the monk, he says, how long will it take? And then the monk laughs and he says, 20 years. And the guy's like, what? Then he says, it's better to do the process and learn it slowly than rush through the process and never learn anything. And that,
Yeah.
I was told that, it was like 3 days ago, and it was like right when I had the reflection with my own self. Like, I've done so many projects, I've done so many different things, but I've never like made I've made like a big move, but I've never like made, instead of making these small ones, I'm making one massive one to go fully all in and everything else like that. And I think that that's, it's a part of the process even more. Now I'm seeing how every part of my life like interplays, like how my past, I was able to learn this, that, and the other to be able to become, who I am today, and now have the skills required to do it. Like I'm going to be editing the actual show itself. And like, it's because I've been able to be taught, all these old things I've had, and I'm making even videos for the company I work for right now. It's like I'm able to use these talents that the divine has given me. It's like a cosmic thing of your life and reality, and you're given these tools, but it's about seeing those opportunities and that you get these tools. It's not expect them, it's you get them.
Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of, you have to bring something to the table. You know what I mean? Like if you want something from the universe, you've got to bring something to the table. And then when you do, you're reciprocated. Your cup, not only does your cup runneth over, but it runneth over a lot. Like it's a lot more blessings than what you thought. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's not like trying to do good works or whatever just to look good in people's eyes or expecting
Yeah.
things, but it's just genuine. It's just genuine, give and receive, that kind of thing. Like you
Yeah.
have to, it's almost like you have to, I'm trying to think of how to put this. It has to be genuine because there's a lesson for you to be learned in that giving. There's a lesson to be learned for you. So that's why it has to be genuine, and you can't expect anything, because if you expect something, then there's no lesson that's learned. The only lesson is, well, if I give something, I get something back. It's like you can teach a dog to push a button to get a treat, but that's
Yeah.
not what we're here to do. We're spiritual beings that are supposed to learn something. We're supposed to learn, I think above all, we're supposed to learn how to love, to love others and to love ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
And so
especially,
that's why there's that energy.
well, at least you love the self, and then so you can be able to love others, because lots of people don't have that even love for themselves, so they can't even, when people even show them love, it's a hesitancy, and it's about really having that heart, like when you do things from your heart versus the mind, or like hoping someone sees, oh man, like back when I'm not going to get into that. It's like my connection with the divine is it's a divine with me with the divine. I'm not going through an intercessory. You know what I mean? And like some people maybe have that struggle and they like to go to someone to be able to have that, but it matters that person that does it with them. Is their goal to be that person to them, or are they also wanting to help them connect to the divine so they don't have to do that? And then once again, it comes down to intent, which is really the main thing, man. Like with the heart and like showing that love to others, because it'd be nice to have that is the world. Now, I'm not, some could say that's fluff. It's like, no, it's not fluff. That's just like, if our society's like that, then the people who aren't on that wavelength, who are destructive, will make themselves known, and then we'll fix the situation. Like there's going to be different societies for whatever, and even the people who are. Oh, I'm sorry.
There's always going to be. No, I was just going to say, there's always going to be evil in the world. We're never going to do away with that. That's a concept of creation. Just what it is.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean? It's like okay, you and I could agree on murder to be evil, but then there's like, what was the reason for you to kill that person, or what were you being attacked? Was it you or them? And then it goes into the gray zone, and then there's like different things that some people could say, oh, that's not bad, that's not like. If I have 3 wives, someone could say that's evil, and then to me, it's not evil. So there are these like, sometimes it's subjective what evil is, because you don't know. I mean, I personally I'm just thinking of a really good example, but it's like, for me, prayer and like, just like trying to learn more about myself, like learning like the occult, for instance, or something like that's. Some could say that's evil, and I find that to be, searching for the truth. So that's also the thing when it comes to evil. It's like, do we collectively know unconsciously what good and evil are? Like, is that something placed? I feel like it was placed upon our hearts, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I can't speak for anyone else because I'm only experiencing this reality through my own lens of perception. So I can't speak for anybody else, but I mean, I know for me, I've always had a sense of what was right and wrong. Now, I may have shifted toward like the really selfish side, like especially when I was a kid. I thought maybe more about myself and my own needs, and maybe I'm hungry or maybe I want something or whatever, and I would, steal it or whatever because I didn't have the money or because whatever. But that was like, I knew that was wrong, but I was so focused on myself and what I wanted that, I did that wrong for a selfish reason, but I still knew it was wrong. It was just a matter of me being focused on myself and not thinking from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't think. You just get so wrapped up in what I want that you don't stop to think, oh, well, will this hurt somebody else? If I shoplift this candy bar, yeah, I really want this, but I'm hurting somebody. The person that owns this business is losing money, that kind of thing. And that's a really small example, but when you blow that up to a larger,
go ahead. You being on the phone, like with the way you respond to someone, like if you're working for some company and it's your boss or whatever, like your response and stuff could be really good, and it could be a great communication, a positive experience, or it can be horrible and they make the whole experience terrible. And it's like, why not minimize these pitfalls that we can keep falling into over and over again? It's like, why not do unto others what you want unto you? Like that whole entire situation. I don't know. I sometimes feel like people maybe do good things because they feel like they have fear of a place in the afterlife. They're not good, so genuinely. versus being like, I'm just going to do things genuinely and be extremely positive, for the case of the action itself. And then in the end, it does help your own self out, maybe with that perspective and, that change, working with the cosmic to make this chain event happen of your evolution, whatever that occur, man. And it's right here, right now, and drive-ins and dives. But no, it's literally right here and right now, like in front of us.
Yeah. I think that, just to kind of get back to, the idea of, doing good things for other people and having empathy. I think that one thing that causes us to do a lot of the selfish shit that we do is just our own fear, not necessarily fear of death or the afterlife, but just fear of, lack, or fear that we're not going to be taken care of, or, you know what I mean? We don't have faith in ourselves, and therefore we don't have faith in God to provide for us, the creator, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people, they hate that word God because it's got a negative connotation.
Yeah.
But you could say the universe, whatever it is, it's because people are afraid. They're afraid that it's not going to work out. So they decide that they're going to steal, or, they're going to go along to get along because they don't think that they can find another job if they don't get the COVID shot. And they don't want to be out on the street, and they're worried they're going to lose their house. And, there's so much fear of lack and limitation. And, and I mean, we have a society that really pushes that. That's kind of the button that they push to keep you in line, because it's like, well, you could be out on your ass homeless, in a month.
You could be scared if we want to get rid of you on this job or whatever. We could pull this string, pull that, and that's why I'm thankful for my situation and everything else. But it's like there are people out there in very intense situations where it's like, holy smokes, like, what are we going to do, and what will I have to do for my family? And I don't, I hope the best. Honestly, it'd be great if I was wrong about the shot. It'd be great if I was wrong, because then these people would be fine, and I don't have to worry about them in 5 years. I see the movie I Am Legend, and I'm like, I hope that's not a precursor to what is supposed to happen, or they want people. Maybe they got me, because now they got me thinking it can happen, and being someone projecting that to the universe to make it happen. It's like there's so many different psychic things going on around us and objectives. It's not just about fear on the inside. It's that projection we place on the outside and into that other realm.
And it creates it. It creates it.
Yeah.
It creates it. It literally has. That fear that people have right now and have carried with them since the start of this has manifested itself in all these negative things that we're seeing right now, with vaccine passports and, just all this stuff. And more than that, employers forcing people to get the shot, and everybody being afraid to be around their family and their loved ones because they're afraid that they'll give them COVID, or that they'll get COVID, or, people afraid that they'll lose their job.
Exactly. It's even family. It even comes out. That's the thing. Family can be like that, as well as like relationships, Now it's like, some people take it very, very serious, and it's like, could that make or break even a relationship? And it's intense that it can hit to that point. I was in a relationship, and honestly, she had a lot of great points, but there's also a lot of points that didn't make much sense. And it's like, I'm trying to understand what's going on. Like, what media, what is truth, what is not truth. Here's what I have from my experience, and be my best. But, from all the other things, and the other breadcrumbs I've followed to show me, about Fauci and the whole thing, the whole operation, basically. It makes you think, wow, like, the thing is I spent time to do that. You know, not lots of people have spent time to look into anything else because the day and day, like 15 notifications on your Facebook, 4 on your YouTube, 6 on your Instagram. Better check them and catch them up. And then get to your job.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot easier just to look at Instagram or look at Facebook feeds and get all your information from that. You know, it's a lot easier just to be like, well, you know what? Professionals have taken care of it. Again, putting your faith outside of your own perception and the things that you're seeing, and, you know, the inner voice within that's telling you that something's amiss here. It's a lot easier to just go worship that golden calf over there and be like, okay, well, science, let's just worship the great God science. Let's worship Fauci and let's worship, you know, all the supposed doctors that are on board with this. Let's worship Bill Gates instead of, you know, listening to that inner voice, right? That intuition that, you know, certainly the Bible talks about, but every religion really talks about, you know, that inner voice that says, hey, something here is not right. When it came down to the COVID situation last year, when it started, I didn't have all the facts, so I didn't know. I was up in the air. But my gut feeling, you know, my inner voice was like, this is bullshit. And it was through research that I confirmed all that. Now you could say, okay, maybe you could always say, well, what about the, you know, the, what is it? The, like the perception bias or the, I remember what that's called, but you know, where basically you have a bias to find all the information.
Yeah.
That supports your premise, but isn't that what we do through our lives? Tell me somebody who doesn't do that. Everybody does that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Just like tribes.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation, yeah. And that's what, anytime I talk about synchronicities or omens and stuff, to anyone that's not had that, like, or had that click, that's exactly where they go to. It's like, they don't have the experience, but I understand that. You know, like, I understand why they feel that way, but then I sometimes feel like when you tell the truth to someone, they can feel that you're speaking from the heart. But then again, they might think you're wild as hell.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You know, I kind of waver back and forth on, you know, whether, I don't know, I've got my suspicions, but whether, you know, it's our thoughts and our beliefs that are creating this reality that we're generating. You know, like maybe there's like an overarching reality that a lot of people agree on, but then there's like subtle differences in everybody's life and their perceptions. And so, and maybe I don't know how it works. Like maybe the ripples in the pond kind of ripple into each other, and the places where we ripple together are the things that we agree on and that we see the same way. I mean, I don't know that we do see them the same way, but you know, like, I mean, you get into the nature of reality, like whatever I guess we all agree on is reality, but
it's like how to fly, like they, how did they make an airplane fly? That was going to be impossible to get a metal thing to be flying up in the sky. But people both started believing in an idea, and they started going after it, and they started making things happen, and it changed everything. And it's almost like, what happens if right now I could levitate? You know, no spirit, no anything else personal myself could levitate. I'm like, wow. What happens if that means we all can, but we've been lied to, saying that we can't do that? What happens if you and I could, without being on this call, still be able to have a conversation back and forth? Who's to say, who's limiting us to what we can and cannot do? And
we're limiting ourselves.
That's what I personally agree with that 120%, man. Like, that's where I'm, you know, there's different parts of religions and anything like that where it's like, there's a positive and a negative, and everyone has their own altercate, their own story and all that. And the one that goes the most within me is that we are created, and then we're going to be destroyed, and some being, the whole Inky story, like that whole idea of a being saved us, and then being enlightened is knowing good and evil in the sense of not being just a robot, a sheep mocking. You have choice, which is
being the cause of creation rather than the effect of creation.
Yeah.
If that makes, well, because, think about this, right? So if you're like just a drone, these people that aren't really aware of what's going on, and you're just kind of like swayed to and fro from media perceptions or other people's perceptions, you never really sit down and think about, okay, well, what do I think about this? Your perspective is always, you're just going along to get along, right? So you're like the effect. You're the effect of reality, because you're not the cause. You didn't come up with all those ideas that sway you. Like, you didn't come up with those theories, and you're not living your dream. Whose dream are you living? Like, if population control is the dream of Bill Gates, and you're going along with it without questioning it, without putting your own perspective in it, then you're the effect of his dream, right? Because you're used as a pawn to bring his dream about. It's deep, that's the kind of deep shit to think about. So when you become kind of conscious and aware, you start to have a valid say. You always have a valid say, but you're just not aware of it. You have something to say about this reality and how it's going to take place by your own thoughts.
And that's the thing. There's people who get hardcore, put on the public eye. And it's people that are making money off of a negative word that's going to create negative seeds for individuals. And that's what gets pushed. Then the hatred towards this person. All the things being pushed, all the people on the platform are the ones that need to not be on the platform, honestly. And that's like what I think the change has to be in this new world and this new perception. And like, if they're become so big, you got to become so big and do it for such a great cause, And that's the thing. All these things are not just for you, it's for everyone. It's the whole entire experience. It's to not allow to walk into that, and also like not allow you to not question reality, and not exactly be a part of the issue, getting that projection. Like that's something that's huge. Like when I go like talk to some people, I'm not gonna say any of those names, but they'll bring up like they're watching, this one's Fox News and this one's CNN, and they tell me their whole perspective, and they're like heated. They're heated from what just got told them. I'm like, being on either side is the issue.
Whose perspective? Yeah, and whose perspective is that? Is that really their feeling about it? Is it something that they've really thought about and they've weighed out in their own heart and they've come to illusion, and or is it just like a knee-jerk reaction of someone else's perspective?
They
can get so angry. It's like the idea itself like possesses them.
Yeah,
they become a zealot. They become a zealot of it. They're almost owned by the idea, like a form, so to speak.
Yeah, no, dude, you just nailed it right on the head. It is crazy. It's like a trigger word. It's almost like like a magic word. Like I say, Alakazam, and then something appears. It's the Palkov's bell of getting triggered. And I was even thinking about making a song, called Triggered, for that exact reason. It's like everyone just blitz so mad about all these things. It's like, if you look at it in a neutral perspective, I feel like a neutral libertarian would be my personal choice for going forward, with all the world. And then also, instead of like worried about having your grass mowed, how about you worry about having also a farm in your own property? Are you kidding me? We stop world hunger. in 5 years of everyone started, and we made our whole entire objective is to get seeds and everyone on board on the planet. Like, stop the game. Everyone stop. Let's stop. Let's stop even playing TV. Let's all have one idea, which is let's fix this whole planet up together. Like, shit. Like, could we do that for 5 days? Could we stop everything that we're doing in the rush at the moment just for a small, like, literally that's all it would take. I know it'd take more, but literally if that one event happened, holy shit. That's the reality I'm projecting. Okay, I want that. I want and need that reality because, but then, there's a whole new world order, where it's like we're all under one order, and is that the Antichrist, this, that, and the other. And so I'm just like,
it is. Well, and the reason why it is, I can tell you already, because, Christ, Paul in the Bible says, that do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? All throughout the Bible, Christ, he says that Christ is in you. The kingdom of heaven is in you. So what would be anti to Christ in you? Anything outside, putting your power in anything outside of you. So anything is the Antichrist. Literally, government is the Antichrist.
Whoa, dude!
Bill Gates is the Antichrist. Fauci is the Antichrist. Anything that you put your faith in outside of yourself and the God within, that you have direct access. And that's what Jesus was trying to tell people, is that, hey man, you don't need a middleman. If you think that you need a middleman, then you're not talking to the right God.
Ooh, it's Christ. So you believe it like how I see it, the Christ consciousness, where it's not talking about putting all your faith into him. It's about having that part of the universe within you, because that's the part that's already in you.
Well, let me see if I can pull it up if you want to keep talking.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Going on the journey of, just trying to figure it out, I'm still on the journey. I haven't reached it there yet, but it's like you find out so much more about yourself. And then when you look at your ancestors, like your parents, and see things that they do that are quirks or this, that, and the other, and how you see yourself a little bit in them, as well as, your own perspective of what you had to go through growing up. And like the lessons you had to learn, like you learned different lessons than I had to learn from you, but at the end of the day, we've still kind of met on this road. We had 2 different journeys getting there, so everyone can get to the truth no matter what the road they're on.
Absolutely. All right. So in 2 Corinthians 13:5, here we go. We're going to get biblical.
Get it.
Because people turn off the 3 people that are watching. So if you we'll go to the New International Version just because it's what's here. But in that verse, Paul says, examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail the test. So what he's saying is, if you don't realize that Jesus Christ is in you, then you failed the test.
Wow.
If you see Christ, and it's not just Christ, it's just saying if you put your faith in something, because this ties into the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not worship graven images, and thou shalt not worship false idols, and that sort of thing. And the people that we put on a pedestal, like you were talking about people like Bill Gates, that they shouldn't be up on a pedestal and all that. The reason why they're up on a pedestal is because we've put them there. We've given them their power because we've put them on an altar and worshiped them. If we turned our backs on them and stopped listening to them, they would have no power. So that shows you that the real power is within us. Our ability to decide. Bill Gates has no power if no one listens to him. If everybody turns their back and says, boo, get off the stage, fuck you, he's going to leave. He's not going to stay there and keep talking.
No, that's true.
His point,
that's true.
His whole purpose is to impart a message, to get it to take hold in you and then get you to go around and spread the message.
Well, it's that whole
Turn your back
parable with
on
the
them.
seeds. It's that seeds, man. Wherever you let your seeds go and where you grow, that's what happens.
That's right.
And that's
So
the whole. Sorry.
I was going to say, so there's an inner meaning to the Bible itself. And I know this wasn't necessarily a biblical discussion, but it's just some food for thought that there's a higher meaning to it. It's not just,
Is that
like
the
Jesus says.
Gnostic?
No, just even the regular Bible. Like Jesus says, he said he spoke in parables for those with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Like when they say that. Go ahead.
It kind of sounds like having a synchronicity.
Yeah.
Like that, hearing his language, the language of God, where you have those things outside of yourself talking to you.
Yeah, those things are just telling you messages about yourself. You know what I mean? It's all a symbol. Everything is a symbol. So that, and we're talking on the phone, or not the phone, but like we were talking on Instagram the other day and voice messages. Corona itself, the name Corona, it's interesting that, so if this shit was cooked up in a lab, they could have chosen any kind of name. If it was made in a lab, they could have made it any kind of virus that they wanted. They could have made it a fucking Ebola virus if they wanted, that would kill everybody quick, if that's what they really wanted. But they chose a particular kind of virus. And did they choose it of their own choosing, or did they choose it of the choosing of God or reality or whatever, whatever force it is that works in this world, that it was to be a coronavirus? And as we talk, corona means crown. And so you get into the crown chakra with the 7 energy centers. And you get into, when your crown chakra is out of balance, there's a lot of fear. There's irrational behavior. There's not intellectual thought. There's not critical thinking. All this stuff that we're suffering from is an infection, so to speak, of our crown chakra. Because we're all afraid of something, whether we're afraid of the economy tanking, whether we're afraid of the vaccine harming us, or whether we're afraid of not taking the vaccine harming us, or whether we're afraid of, are we going to be able to make a living in this, vaccine, post-vaccine world?
Are you gonna have to wear the mask? Are you afraid you're gonna get your paycheck? Are you gonna get a job now?
Yes.
And it's becoming a whole new reality that they are trying.
And so now we're putting our faith in all these things outside of us. We're worried about all these external things and not really leaning on the Spirit of God that's within.
Now, do you personally? So for me, and some days I said this little story to someone else. It's kind of a little parable. Some days I go to meditate and it works, and some days I go through the actions of it and do my best. So I go there and I sit, and sometimes I add different things to it, and a chant sometimes. But I was wondering, do you do anything in particular yourself, or have you do you not do that?
Well, I do, but see, my meditation usually is like walks in my yard or like gardening and stuff like that, and sometimes it's during the day, the middle of the day, and then sometimes it's at night. I prefer to do it at night because, you don't feel so weird about walking around your yard aimlessly. Your neighbors aren't watching you wondering if you're tripping on acid or something, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I do. And when I meditate, I kind of get in that space where I'm sort of talking to myself and trying to find that, not trying to, I find that inner voice. And what I do, a lot of times it's just me trying to envision the future that I want, kind of even coming from a perspective of it already happening, like almost like when you're a kid, you play all these different games with your imagination. Like you imagine that, if you want to be a basketball player, like when I was a little kid, I would imagine that I was playing in a basketball game and making a big shot. And I think if I would have kept doing that and had a passion to do it, I probably would have been a good basketball player or whatever it is that I wanted to be. When you hear the greats talk, people like Michael Jordan, they're not afraid to take the shot because they've shot that shot not only in experience physically, but they've shot it in their mind 1,000 times.
Yeah.
They've seen the ball go into the hoop, and they've seen themselves win the game. And that's kind of the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. And I think that our meditation, there's two things that I think that we should really strive for in our meditation. One, getting in contact with our inner voice, whatever that is that speaks to us, the voice of God. And two, trying to make these things that we want to happen in our lives happen. Imagining that those things have happened. Not necessarily imagining how or worrying about the means, because, like the Bible says, God says that I have ways and means that you're unaware of. I mean, that's paraphrasing it, but
yeah,
things are going to turn out the way that they do. We don't have control over how to make it happen necessarily, but that's when the synchronicities come in. Then you start to have all these happy accidents that seem to happen. You're driving down the road and all the lights are green, and you're like, damn, this feels good.
Yeah.
You can get to that spot, not necessarily just driving, but you can get to that spot in life where it just feels like, okay, I've got all this momentum. These things are going for me.
That's where I finally feel like I found where my grand vision. And now, like, the daily routine is getting me there, but I realize that the journey's going to probably be a lot longer than what I thought. But in the end, I've taken course on the journey, and it's about. Hey, dude, I have to go use the bathroom super quick. I wanted to ask you about the Hollow Earth, and then we'll go for another 20 minutes or so. That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah,
awesome.
Sounds good. I'm going to turn some lights on too, so it's not so spooky in here.
Awesome. No, that's okay, dude. We got to get it scary down there. Hollow Earth. All right, everyone.
All right, we'll meet back.
Take 1 minute.
5. Okay, 1 minute.
So I just did the Austin Powers take a pee, where it's like you just keep going and going. Like when that fountain went out, that was hilarious. I hope y'all are enjoying this. I appreciate everyone being here. This is pretty doggone phenomenal, and we've dived already in multiple different portals of different topics that are really great of insight. And once again, thank you for coming on, dude, and like just talking to you in general, even in the messages. I appreciate
it. Yeah, thanks for hacking. Spout my ideas. Even if only a few people listen to them, it's cool just to have another person that is willing to listen.
100%. And, you know, maybe in the future, these will have millions of views on it. And 5 years from now, it'll be a huge thing. But, you know, till then, we'll just be keeping it cool anyways. Like, one person viewing and changing their life forever is worth it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. Plus, I enjoy going back listening too, you know, because there's so many things that click in and right. There's some days that are phenomenal, where I love life. I'm on fire about it. Things are kick ass. Hell yeah, I'm about this journey. And then there's the next
Hell yeah.
days where it's like, I have a fucking anchor on my leg, and I am pushing every goddamn inch to get through it that day, you know. And you want to snap and you want to quit, try and give up. But sometimes there's plans that are in front of you that you have to do because you feel like it's right on the course, and it's internally it's right. And that's what, you know, it's not what I think, it's what I know it's about. It's definitely about figuring that out. But yeah, Inner Earth, Hollow Earth, I just wanted to hear your perception on it. You know, I've had a long before I even say anything, I just want to dive into it with you.
I mean, I've looked into it a little bit. It was probably 15 years ago that I really last looked into it. Like when I read a book. It was from this guy named Michael Tsarian, and he's pretty popular. I don't know if he's as popular as he was a couple years ago, but he's got a decent sized following, and he was like on about the agenda and stuff, and he alluded a little bit to the Hollow Earth. And you know, like I think the guy's name was Admiral Byrd, who supposedly like led a voyage into Antarctica and supposedly found Hollow Earth where there was. I mean, I've heard everything from like the Nazis were looking for this place called Ultima Thule, or I think it's Thule, is how it's pronounced, and they were looking for this, you know, paradise Nordic place where I guess the Nordic people supposedly come from. And you know, you hear people say, well, that, you know, they talk about aliens and they say that there's like these big tall Nordics, and there's like a theory that maybe they come from there, from the Hollow Earth. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah.
It's just so much shit to try to unpack, and
yeah,
I don't put I don't put a lot of stock in it. I mean, I don't know. I'm interested in it, but that's all I can say. I don't give it a lot of thought because I'm probably never going to know.
Yeah, there's speculation, you know. That's the only thing, you know, hearing stuff about Admiral Byrd and then the whole Nazis and all that. Like, I've heard different cases of it. And, you know, now with these spaceships going in and out of the ocean, you know, like, people are getting on camera. It's like, is there something else going on underneath or in these places? And that's why I'm so, you know, more fascinated now than just like this story that, you know, there's millions of freaking stories I've heard of things, and that's why they're like, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then, you know, it comes down to really fact checking and looking at the things through your own lens and seeing how, you know, what do you feel is right? You know, what do you feel is right? It is okay. Yeah, I'm echoing. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's getting kind of funky. You're back though now. It got kind of weird for a minute. But
well, you know what is the catchphrase is it's live.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, you know, people, they get into all this conspiracy stuff, and I mean, obviously, I mean, no doubt they're conspiracy. I mean, for sure. Like, and it's documented, not just a bunch of woo-woo. And I'm the woo-woo people, and some people might think that based on what I said, you know, about consciousness and that sort of thing, that I'm one of those people. But, you know, I just go by experience and what I can prove to myself, and then what I can verify. And that's about as good as you can do. Like, when it comes to, I just can't give my power to believe something like that, you know, without experiencing it or having kind of evidence that is just ironclad, where that might be.
So it's like, you know, through the experience, you're able to believe. And I know it says in the Bible, like, to just believe without seeing is blessed. And I do feel like, in my experience, when I have those experiences, it helps me out significantly. And, you know, I desire those things because it helps just bring to life more things, another chain of events. You know, like, I feel like it is a part of the growth, it is a part of the expansion. And yeah, some could see it to being, you know, weird and everything else like that, but I don't care. Like, through my experience, you know, I have perception that's not typical like everyone else's in a lot of different ways. And it could be scary. It can be weird. It could be this, that, and the other. And it's like, at the end of the day, though, like, all of our grand mission, I believe, should be as a collective, is about sustaining, taking care of, and actually just changing the world's perspective from lack to abundance and make it happen.
Yeah.
You know? And it's simple. It's pretty damn simple. Like, someone could say I'm evil by the means in which my mind has got there. Because I've worked, and that's the thing too. I had to face that. It's like, there's different angels. There's even things in the Simon Necronomicon, beings that are been helpful, beings that are like with shamanism, and seeing like how like the spirits of different birds have affected my life, and like lots of corny synchronicities that the Hawk was just showing me over and over and bringing it to life, that like it was a real working. It wasn't just a made up thing in my mind. And I can go through all the things that occur, and it's like, holy crap, that's beyond coincidence, because there's so many different. But you know, that's not. And you know, that's why I've been like, there's only a perspective that someone might be able to take the fruits of it and all, but it's about getting those fruits and passing those on and grow and make people stop taking in the fear. Like, if anything, if someone took away, I'm going to be a little bit healthier. You know, I'm going to make sure I get out in the sun. Vitamin D. That's a huge thing that helped people out during this whole entire pandemic. Vitamin D. That's why I didn't like my last job. I was inside for 9 hours. No vitamin D. This one, I get vitamin D. It's like, holy smokes, I got the D. The clip. But, like, living the great lifestyle and positive thing like that, I think, you know, as we plant seeds like that, and people that hear this and they plant seeds like that, that's the way to do it. Maybe it will take a little longer, and it takes a little patience. But I think all these crazy things going on with the housings and all this other stuff, as long as that information is getting out there and people see what's going on, then there will be a point in which it will be like, we have to do something, or else we're going to be like what Fry was saying, like North Korea. Like people not knowing any education. They only see their God is the leader of the country. It is we. When people are dying, they don't see it as like, feel bad for them. It's like, that's just another part of, you know, the we. And it's scary. It's scary. So it's like, why would you not, like, if that could, leaders like that could be in our own backyard, we should definitely, we need to change the system right now, like, in a positive way for everyone. And you know, even the term race was made in 1795. And that has made a divide on people, because then back then it was like, it doesn't matter your race, it was just a slave or not a slave. And then now there's these time periods and everything else, and stuff getting trying to murked up in the, you know, to make people have now programmed fear, programmed hate towards one another, and just make people more divided. Even something like that, just dividing them of all the shit that's going in the water. So to me, I'm just like, man, how can you be that Jim each day and do that for the creator, so then the creator can give you the next piece of your puzzle to continue on. I think you're absolutely right. You can't sit there and expect it. It just happens, and you learn it, and then you walk through it. And you know, I'm blown away just by like your journey to become who you are, and now be walking this path like as a wolf. Oh, it's like for you to figure that out yourself and chisel away all the other stuff to get there. And like where I'm at, it's like everyone can get to a higher place. Like everyone can, you can lose the weight, you can get the house you want, you can get your body what you want, but you're gonna have to put in the work and also have that self conscious that you can do it. And there is a lot of crazy stuff going on, so make sure you do your research and like make your best moves. Don't just waste your energy. And that's probably the biggest thing I would say to people, because I see that for myself. Even my, as being reckless with my seed as a youngster, to blasting off all the time, like woo. It's like that's energy. Like that's a part of you. Like that's a sacred thing in my eyes. So like that's like when I do. It's not like I'm a don't do it all the time, don't do this and that, but I do feel like it's a special thing, so you shouldn't just make it up 100% 24/7, because otherwise you're just going to be a drained battery, And the world puts lust as a huge thing, and that's also part of the distraction. You know what I mean? There's major distraction going on in that way too. So not only with the notifications, do this, keep up with the Joneses. There's just so much thrown at us, and I think that grounding, for you, the gardening and all that, like, and what I do, all this stuff I do, it's like, people have to figure out who they are, be grounded in that, and then they can go forth with things. And it's not an overnight journey. What it is about, like, prayer to the divine, asking for that journey to start, and then trusting your gut and your intuition when that first door opens. And I feel like everything is so in front of your face. If you say that was just a coincidence, you say that, you're on. It's on. It's game time. Time to open up door number 2, man.
Oh, yeah.
But
no, I mean, I agree with all that.
No. Hey, so go. What would be any last things you'd want to say to the audience before we go? It's like an exit, and then we'll talk off air for a little while. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for coming on here, and we've jumped around in so many different places, dude. Absolutely, we'll have to continue it because. We'll get better connections. We'll be live again, everyone. And, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the comments below. I appreciate all feedback, and, we can dive into anything. It's just, you and Brad are like my two that I think, all of us having a conversation. There's so many different we're all thinking about the same things, but everyone has soaked in their bit of knowledge here, this person there, and it's like, dang, man, like, let's all put it in the bucket. Let's make it happen.
Oh yeah, I'm down with that. I mean, as far as the last thing I want to say, I would just encourage everybody out there to stop giving away your power to things that are outside of you. First, you got to find the center of who you really are. You got to go inside. You've got to quiet all the noise, quiet everything that everybody expects you to be, what the world expects you to be, and find out what it is that you are, who you are, what you want, what are the things that you would like to have out of your life, and then goals for yourself, and also learn to trust in the divine. Don't try not to be afraid all the time. Live in a society that is always trying to make us insecure, or always trying to make us afraid, or always trying to make us think that, if we buy this product, that it's going to solve all of our problems. And we buy the product, and then every time we're let down because we realize that thing that we thought was going to make our lives better didn't make any difference at all. We still have the same problems that we had before we bought it. It didn't make us ourselves anymore. It didn't make the people around us love us anymore. So that would be my biggest advice: is find the center of time, whether it be 15 minutes a day, whatever, 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day is better than no minutes. And that's it. Just think for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. I mean, that's simple. We don't have to complicate it. It's easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's simple.
Well, you know what, man? You said it so perfect because that's blacklight alchemy right there. That's seeing things objectively, and seeing it at all angles and seeing all the stains and the hidden, making your own conclusion, and then just going on with it and quit following everyone else, and don't be in fear. If someone's going to try and break your frame on who you are as a person because they want you to fit inside their little keyhole, it's not worth it. No one's worth it. Resist. Exactly.
Resist that. You determine who you are. You determine what you believe. Don't let anybody else. That is the power that the creator of this universe has given us, that other creatures don't have. They don't have this ability. In Hermeticism, there's two abilities that man has been bestowed by God: speech and mind. Both of those things. The speech, not just the speech that you give to others, but the inner talk within yourself, the ability of what you tell yourself about yourself. And the mind, the ability to perceive, the ability to imagine, the ability to see outside of whatever your perspective is to another perspective. We have these abilities to do these things. And I think if that's the thing, if we stop being drones and getting caught up in the Matrix, like watch the Matrix movie. A lot of don't realize that they're asleep in the Matrix. There's only some people that do. Yeah. And you can't be woken up until you realize that you're in the Matrix. And that's just how it is. You have the choice to take the red pill or the blue pill.
Dude, that's the absolute truth. It's just like speaking things into existence and then putting it in the mind, having that ability. It's all right there. So everyone, whether this is reality or we are plugged in somewhere, at that point, you at least know whether it's in the program or this reality. Don't allow any of that other data to be pushed into you. And you also have to understand protection of yourself when you're around people who are like that, because they will want that to be in you. And so you have to be firm and stand your ground too. And that's also part of the balance too, because you're not trying to fight anyone for disagreement of their thoughts, but it's having an understanding and also don't fall from your own faith in it. Like, just have it. Just know it. Like, don't hope you have it. Know you have it. It's that whole truth thing within. But you have to be speaking it from within, and like sometimes it is harder, and that's something why I promote, also, making sure what you're eating and what you're doing, like that you say in a cycle of mostly doing better things for your body, because if you have too much sugar or too much alcohol or too much, you might get off balance, and then it's hard to even stay inside the positive mindset because it can get more BS added to it.
Well, I might even argue that just by, and this was a study that I saw, and I can't remember where I saw it, but they did a study on people that did dieting, and they found that like they just by the fact that they were aware of what they were eating, they had success. Like, it didn't even matter which particular diet. Like, just the fact that they were eating was causing them to like meet their goals and to lose weight. So it may not even be like exactly what you eat, but it's just a matter of you being conscious about what you eat and thinking about it. There's something to be said for that too.
I need to add that into my routine, because I'm like really on a push to lose all the weight right now, and I'm like at a wall. I'm at a wall, and sometimes I'm like, I need to do a picture a week so I can make, is it muscle or is it actual not? Like, am I losing body fat? Am I looking better? And it's turning, what's going on? But I do believe that, like, when I'm more focused on it, it makes it happen. But when I'm tired or I have a lack of willpower, I destroy it. And so it's really it is a mind-body connection, Do you have the willpower in those moments? Because, one bowl turns to two turns to three, and, and then I ask myself, why have I not made progress? Well, because you've had more of those moments than you have of consistency. I guess, that could be the reality that I have to face, but, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure out what's in the formula, what I have to do to hit a certain thing, but it's a part of the process. I wasn't able to run really well like 10 years ago, but now I'm way better than I ever was. And I've learned so much more, but it's part of the process.
Well, have you ever imagined yourself, running and what it's, physically imagining yourself like to the point of where your feet hit the pavement, where you feel what you would feel if you're successful.
The ground, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like almost to the point where you almost believe that you've already done it, like to where you've convinced yourself. Yeah. If you get there, then that's the point where you start to, like auto takes over, and your subconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, that directs you to where you need to go. That's kind of like that's kind of the same process of how intuition works too. Is it's that inner mind that's like, yeah, this is where you want to go. These are this is the pathway. These are the steps. You'll start to have those intuitions, and you'll start taking the steps to get yourself to where you want to go through like something that you can logically think of, because it's a mind that's more intelligent than we are. It's the ultimate mind. It's the mind of creation. You tap into that, but you have to do it a certain way.
Yeah, it's unlimited, but it's also limited to how much you can absorb at once. And that's something I'm learning with the process of different things and how much you want the microwave. But that's why that parable was told to me, because I understand it now. It's like, damn, it's going to be a long process. You might as well start it right now and enjoy the process of trying to shortcut everything. And, why?
I was just going to say, well, because there's a learning process that you're supposed to learn, so that by the time you achieve your goal, you perceive it, right? You don't want to take you right now where you are mentally and have you achieve whatever goal you're at, because you're not going to be ready. You're going to fuck it up, or it's not going to work out right, because you have on the journey to the goal, teaches you all the lessons that helps you appreciate when you get there. Because it's not like you have to. God wants us to do is really become more aware. That and loving too, but awareness. Because why else would God interest in this world? It's to further the creative power that God has. That's what it's all about. To take on the limitation of these bodies with like, so if you made a video game, right? It's like you going into the video game forgetting who you were. It'd be like virtual reality, but to the nth degree. And so in order for you can get to where you want to go, but there's like a spiritual, because ultimately what we're supposed to be learning is spiritual. Like our physical goals are secondary. That's why you gain the knowledge that you gain along the way to achieving what you want to achieve. You learn faith, you learn patience, you learn perseverance, love. You learn all these things that byproducts of the That's why they're so important.
Yeah, it's
Necessarily
almost
where you're
more
going.
important. It's actually more important than the actual prize itself.
Yeah.
Because it's the evolution of the individual. And I think that when people have that right within themselves, like they have their Christ consciousness and then they have that perspective of what they're going after, I think that fire you can't put out if it's an authentic fire and not one that's like, one that's beyond almost yourself in a sense. It's not just about that, it's about everyone. But that's to find that, it takes a lot of time, and you have to have that patience, because if you don't, you're right. What you said about you might not be able to hold on to what the thing that you'll get that you've been wanting to get the whole time because you're not prepared. And we've all now hit different points in our lives where our old gifts in the past are being able to use in the present. And it's great that we went through that. Even the bad moments where you had a heartbreak, but guess what? Now you're like, hey, you know what? Whatever. Like, we're moving forward. Like, the next time you go through a situation, it's not even near as bad as it's ever been. And it's really just never giving up, man. Having that seed of endurance to push through and also, start the journey itself. So everyone, start the journey. We kept going on, but everyone start the journey. Thank you again, man. We'll have to do this in like a month or 2 months and make it at least once every month, every 2 months. I mean, if you'd want to, I'd love to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and your buddy EA Coetting, I'd like to maybe talk to him sometime too, if we could get. I love his perspective on. we come from different perspectives. He looks at it differently, but I think the message really resonated with that conversation that you guys had last week. I really did. I was like,
I mean, I appreciate you listening, man.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome.
Dude, from the first time I talked to him to the last time I just had that conversation, and I said, dude, you always remind me. My cousin reminds me of you, and you remind me of my cousin. I lose it every single time, dude. So, I know he's really busy, but down the road, I know I'll end up doing another podcast. So, that's definitely possible, man. That would be. I would personally think it was a phenomenal experience. I'd be laughing. Full of joy. It'd be great. So, yeah, man, we'll have to look into that too, man. That'd be awesome. We're the truth seekers out here. Hey, everyone. We're wrapping it up. Take it easy. Find your roots and never give up.